In this lesson, we are going to learn about functions with optional named parameters. So, what are optional named parameters? The optional named parameters are parameters that are placed inside the curly braces, and these parameter names are specified whenever the arguments are passed. So, no need to remember about positioning the arguments, but simply just specify the name of the parameters along with the passing values. In this lesson, we will look at how optional name parameters are defined and used. Now, let's begin. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to handle optional name parameters. Previously, we learned about positional parameters. Positional parameters require arguments to be in specific order. You also need to define all parameters in arguments. Optional name parameters are parameters that has specific names. By using optional argument, you do not have to define all parameters in arguments unless you use it. You also don't have to write arguments in specific order. Let's look at this example code. You can see that, unlike positional parameters, optional name parameters are surrounded with brackets. And you can also find that arguments are sent with a variable name. If you run this code, it returns the value of 8-4, which is 4. Now, what happens if you change the order of arguments? Let's switch the positions of arguments in main function and run the code. If you run this code, you can see that even if you change the order of arguments, the result does not change since argument has specific names. Then, what happens if number of arguments is different from number of parameters? First, let's add more parameters. We are going to add num3 to our parameter. We just added new parameter in sub-function named num3. But it does not show any errors unless num3 is used. So the result is the same. But if you try to use num3 in the function, then it will cause an error because num3 is a null value. We will learn how to handle this problem later. Now let's define more arguments. If we put one more argument as 9, then it will cause an error. This error shows because subfunction did not define variable num3. You can see that argument name must be defined as parameters and functions. Let's summarize what we have learned. To use optional name parameters, arguments must be defined in function with the same variable name. But unlike positional arguments, you don't have to send all parameters as arguments unless you are using it. Now, try practice example for yourself in Dartpad or locally. And see the different results and outputs. And that's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.